What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Sunday, June 29th, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 13:19 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Ukraine and from the Middle East. So, Al Arabia News is reporting that Israel is planning a second round of strikes on Iran, which will be significantly more destructive than the first round of attacks. So, that's very, very interesting. And we had the largest air attack against Ukraine last night since the start of the Ukraine war. Russia seemed to concentrate their attack on western Ukraine, prompting air raid sirens to go off in southeastern Poland for the first time ever. So this is very, very concerning. And before I continue with the breaking news, I wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which is My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply is doing a massive sale on their 3-month emergency food supply. You can get 3 months of emergency food, 2,000 calories a day for just $500. That's $200 off their normal price with free shipping included. This food has a shelf life of 25 years, and it's a variety of different types of food. So if you use the link preparewithnyprepper.com, you can save $200 on their 3-month emergency food supply. The link is in the description below this video. That's preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. And we're hearing that Russia launched over 450 drones and over 40 missiles of various types, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and hypersonic missiles. And what you're looking at here is a picture showing the parts of Ukraine that were hit by this Russian attack. And you can see a lot of the drones went to western Ukraine. They were really focusing on western Ukraine last night, but we're hearing that this was the largest air attack on Ukraine since the start of the war. And one of my moderators, John Hoover, lives in Ukraine. He lives in Kremenchuk. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen him before in the live streams. His city came under attack for the third time in the last few weeks last night, and they were hitting Kremenchuk from all directions with cruise missiles, hypersonic missiles, ballistic missiles, and drones. But I want to just report to you guys that he's doing okay and he's fine. So John Hoover is okay. And in downtown DC, construction crews are actively erecting and putting up large anti-scale barricades around the White House and the Treasury for an unknown reason. So they're putting up fencing and barricades around the White House and the Treasury. And there was a massive anti-government riot in the Serbian capital of Belgrade yesterday. And the Financial Times is reporting that Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium was not concentrated at Fordow at the time of the attack. So even though the Trump administration is saying that the strikes were a big success, we have multiple sources saying that not all of the uranium was in Fordow. And we have the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency, the IAEA, and now the Financial Times all saying that basically all the uranium wasn't in Fordow. And I've showed you guys in the live streams on Google Earth probably about half a dozen to a dozen bunkers under mountains in Iran where Iran could have uranium, okay? So Iran will continue to produce nuclear weapons. It's probably going to take them a little bit longer now, but we're hearing reports that these strikes only set Iran back by just a few months, okay? And the IAEA chief, Rafael Grossi, that's the International Atomic Energy Agency, the UN watchdog, said the strikes against Iran's nuclear program were severe, but they did not completely destroy it. Tehran could resume uranium enrichment within months. And he also said, I think Iran likely transferred some of its enriched uranium before the U.S. strikes. So this is very, very concerning. And I've showed you guys in the live stream just south of Natanz, one of the nuclear sites that Trump hit with the bunker busters. Just a mile south of Natanz, there's massive tunnels going into this huge ridge, and it's literally just a mile away from Natanz. So you don't think that Iran moved some of their material out of Natanz into that mountain just a mile away, when we were giving Iran like a 2-month or even 3-month warning. So Iran had like 2 or 3 months to prepare for this, okay? So they definitely scattered their uranium, and it's going to come back at some point. We're going to have to deal with Iran again at some point, either during the Trump administration or the next administration. And what you're looking at here are some new satellite pictures showing the top of Fordow, and you can see these giant holes where the bunker busters penetrated through the mountain. And the Iranians have an excavator and a bulldozer here, and they're doing some kind of excavation and earth moving around these craters. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but looks like Iran is quickly patching up these holes, it seems like. And then here we have a picture of Isfahan. Isfahan is one of the 3 sites that Trump attacked with the bunker busters. Actually, this site was only hit with Tomahawk missiles. It was not hit with bunker busters. And this is another nuclear facility that's under a mountain, and this one was untouched by bunker busters. And so what the Iranians did was they buried the entrances with soil. And you can see that within a day, they reopened the entrance, okay, the tunnel. They had it covered in dirt to protect it from missiles. And then a day later, they just moved the dirt, and it's been reopened. So we still have Isfahan. We still have Arak, another nuclear facility. We have another facility near Tehran. There's a lot of these nuclear facilities in Iran. So it's not over, guys. And Iran has officially banned the chief of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Grossi, from entering the country. So that is very concerning. And we know that Iran's parliament voted last week to pass a law ending cooperation with the IAEA. So as of right now, nobody is allowed access into Iran to oversee what they're doing, okay? So now Iran is completely unchecked, and now they know that Israel and the U.S. could strike again, so they're going to rapidly build up their nuclear arsenal and declare themselves a nuclear power like North Korea, okay? Also, we have some major breaking news coming in from Pakistan. Pakistan is reportedly developing an ICBM, a nuclear missile that can reach the continental United States. And we have some breaking news coming in from the capital of Iran. So apparently last night, Israeli fighter jets were heard flying over the southern part of Tehran near Nasimshar and Eslamshar. Also, Iranian air defenses reportedly intercepted Israeli drones over Shiraz. And there was also some kind of high-rise building in Tehran that was hit by an Israeli drone. Reportedly, this high-rise had either IRGC senior officials or nuclear scientists. This was in Farmaniye district of the Iranian capital of Tehran. And Iran is calling on the UN to recognize the responsibility of Israel and the U.S. for the recent war. And the virtual embassy in Iran has been telling Americans to leave Iran immediately for some reason. And the Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said, "We warned Iran that if any launches against Israel are carried out by one of their proxies, Iran will be held responsible." And over the weekend, we had one missile launched from Yemen towards Israel. Israel intercepted it, so Iran thinks they're clever, and they think they're going to be able to circumvent the ceasefire by having the Houthis attack them. But the defense minister of Israel said that they are now preparing a broad campaign against the Houthis, okay? He said the Houthis fire towards Israel almost daily. Some of the missiles don't reach and disintegrate en route, but this reality cannot continue. The Houthis will pay a heavy price. Wow. So Israel is not messing around. And Trump made some comments about Iran and the Middle East. He said, after the war with Iran, additional countries told us that they wanted to join the Abraham Accords. Interesting. So guys, this is one of Trump's biggest fantasies, is for him to make the ultimate deal, the deal of the century, a Middle East peace deal, okay? He almost did it during his first term with the Abraham Accords. It didn't quite work out, but you can bet that this time around, Trump is going to try to get a Middle East peace deal signed between Iran and Israel and all the Middle Eastern countries, okay? And that's why Trump did not go all out in striking Iran, okay? Because if he did, it would be harder for him to act as a middleman. All right, but he's trying to play a little more neutral, okay? And he struck symbolically in Iran to show the Israeli people that, you know, he has their back, but it was more of a symbolic strike than an actual strike that really devastated Iran, okay? And that's what Trump wants, and there's already billboards going up across Israel showing Trump with like 11 other Middle Eastern leaders around him, symbolizing the Last Supper, basically, with Jesus and his apostles, okay? Basically, Trump and 11 other leaders, that's 12. So, just like the 12 apostles, but this is very, very concerning. Trump also said Iran and Israel are exhausted. The last thing Iran thinks about is nuclear. The place is such a mess. Trump told the Ayatollah Khamenei, "You are a man of great faith. You should tell the truth. You got beat to hell. Israel was beat up too." Okay, so notice he said Israel was beat up too. "I would bomb Iran again without question if it turns out that Iran has uranium to the levels of enrichment to make a bomb." And Trump said the trucks at Fordow were there to pour concrete and not to smuggle out the uranium there. And Iran's foreign minister said Trump should put aside the disrespectful and unacceptable tone towards the supreme leader if he wants a deal. And the IAEA chief, Rafael Grossi, told CBS that Iran has a very vast, ambitious nuclear program, and part of it may still be there. And if not, there's also the self-evident truth that the knowledge is there, okay? So he's saying that, you know, it's not over. Iran is going to continue on. And Netanyahu is expected to visit D.C. during the second half of July. And ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz are transmitting unusual messages declaring their supposed national ties, such as China-owned or Russian crude, in an effort to appear neutral and avoid being targeted by the Houthis or Iran, according to maritime analytics firm Windward. The practice began after fighting erupted earlier this month between Israel and Iran. And we have some major breaking news coming in from Europe, and I've been reporting on this the last couple of days. Russia has been doing nuclear fallout studies or surveys near Lithuania, the Baltics, and Finland. and specifically they were flying near Klaipeda, which is a major NATO port. If there were an attack on the Baltics, NATO would use the port of Klaipeda in Lithuania to move all their tanks and equipment, and they started doing exercises there in 2014, massive exercises moving equipment and ammunition into the port of Klaipeda. Well, Russia recently did a nuclear fallout survey near Klaipeda. Basically, they're studying the effects of a simulated nuclear strike on Klaipeda and where the fallout would go, okay? And they were doing the same thing in Finland. And the source for this is KLW World News. Check him out on Rumble. His most recent video, I think it was Thursday afternoon with Jeff and Johnny. He does a show every week on Thursday with Jeff Nyquist and this other guy, Johnny. And they were talking about this in greater detail if you want to check that out. And German jets reportedly intercepted a Russian spy plane over the Baltic Sea this weekend for the 9th time this year. On June 27th, 2 Eurofighter Typhoons scrambled to intercept a Russian Ilyushin 20M flying from Kaliningrad without a transponder, radio, or flight plan, headed towards Polish and German airspace. The plane turned back just 40 kilometers from the town of Usedom. According to Bild, this is the 9th such incident in 2025. Russian spy planes regularly fly missions to monitor NATO activity in Poland, Germany, Denmark, and Sweden. Meanwhile, German authorities are also probing Russian drones spotted over Eurofighter Typhoon bases in Bavaria. So this is very concerning, guys. The 9th time a Russian recon plane flew towards NATO airspace in the Baltics this year. Okay, I've never heard of that many intrusions by Russian recon planes in that area. And a Ukrainian F-16 and pilot were shot down by Russian missiles last night during that massive missile attack, while the pilot was using his F-16 to repel the largest air attack on Ukraine since the start of the war. Ukrainian Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Maxim Ustimenko was killed overnight. Official reports say he downed 7 targets before his F-16 was hit. He tried to divert the jet away from a populated area but couldn't eject in time. So this guy is a hero. Shooting down as many as 7 missiles and drones before getting hit, and then diverting his F-16 away from a populated area. The Ukrainian fighter pilots, I am convinced, are probably better than even American fighter pilots, considering how much combat experience they have with those F-16s. Probably better than European fighter pilots, okay? They're regularly being scrambled to shoot down hundreds and hundreds of drones and cruise missiles. I mean, I can't think of anything we've ever had to do similar to that other than Israel and Iran last year when Iran launched that massive attack, Operation True Promise. And the new Pope, Pope Leo, welcomed Ukrainian Greek Catholic pilgrims to the Vatican on June 28th, saying their country has been martyred by Russia's senseless war. He said, "I wish to express my closeness to the martyred Ukraine, to the children, the youth, the elderly, and especially to the families who mourn their loved ones." Pope Leo said in an address to Greek Catholic pilgrims at St. Peter's Basilica, "I share in your sorrow for the prisoners and for the victims of this senseless war." So the new Pope showing his support for Ukraine. If you remember, Pope Francis refused to take Ukraine's side and stayed more neutral, okay? But this Pope is saying that the Ukrainian people have been martyred and that basically they're going to heaven for all the abuse that they've been suffering by the Russian military. And Trump said that he may send Patriot missiles to Ukraine. This comes after Zelensky asked Trump at least 2 times so far this year to buy these Patriot missiles. Okay, so Zelensky really wants to buy a lot more Patriot missiles because Ukraine is running out of them. And Putin made some comments about the war. He said Russia is ready to hold the next round of negotiations with Ukraine in Turkey and is grateful for the Turkish president for his assistance. He said negotiators from Russia and Ukraine are in operational contact. The heads of delegations are currently discussing a possible date for a new round of negotiations. And he also said Russia wants to complete the special operation with the result the country needs. And defense spending in Russia is aimed at this and not at aggression against Europe. Despite escalating war plans, Putin claims Russia will cut military spending starting in 2026. And Putin also said that Russia and the U.S. have good prospects for economic cooperation. American businesses are signaling their desire to return to the Russian market. He also said he has great respect for Trump. And Russia is reportedly massing over 100,000 troops in eastern Ukraine to try to take the strategic city of Pokrovsk in the Donetsk region, the Donetsk or Donbass region, eastern Ukraine. And the Kremlin warned that Estonia's willingness to host NATO planes with nuclear weapons poses an immediate danger to Russia. And Lithuania formally informed the UN that they have withdrawn from the anti-personnel mine treaty. So Poland also did the same thing, and I believe all the Baltics have done the same thing already. And what you're looking at here are some interesting flights that happened last night. Here we have a U.S. high-priority recon plane that was flying near the Russian Pacific, near Kamchatka, where Russia has their Pacific Fleet base. This RC-135 Combat Sentinel flew from Japan to Anchorage, but we were listening to it making radio checks and communicating on the primary U.S. nuclear war frequency. So this thing flew very close to Kamchatka near Rybachi, which is where Russia has about a third of their nuclear-armed submarines right over here. And also at the same time, we had a Russian high-priority recon plane fly to Kamchatka. So something was brewing over here last night in the Pacific near the Sea of Okhotsk. And then we had this U.S. Air Force KC-135 aerial refueler take off from northern Finland and go up towards Greenland, and it disappeared from the flight tracker over the Norwegian Sea. We also had this Russian high-priority recon plane hug the border of Mongolia and China for some reason 2 nights ago. And this is the same one that eventually flew to Kamchatka, to the Rybachi area. And then here we have a U.S. Air Force VIP plane that flew from D.C. to Greenland. Very, very interesting. And here we have a Turkish AWACS plane, or a NATO AWACS plane in Turkey flying near Syria. Very interesting. And then here we have a picture of a Russian tank being moved around in southern Ukraine. Russia is reportedly massing a lot of tanks and forces near the Zaporizhia region. So they're planning to make a big push into Zaporizhia. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back later on tonight with a live update. Until then, check out my Patreon to get access to all of these updates with no advertisements. And you can get access to these updates first before I put them on YouTube. That's patreon.com/NYPrepper. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video.